All right, it is December 27th, 2017. It is almost the end of the year, and it is almost certainly our last show of the year. This is the iMore Show, episode 587. I am your host, Serenity Caldwell, managing editor of iMore, and we are going to talk about iPhone Slow, things we got for Christmas, our 12 Days of Tech Tips series, and some helpful photo tips for you to ring out the new year in style. This is the iMore Show. Joining me today, we have got people. joining, I was trying to remember Lori's title, and it went directly out of my head.
Just call me whatever you want.
Deputy Managing Editor, Lori Gill. Hi, Lori. How are you?
I am post-Christmas, so I completely understand. My brain is a million other places. I want to play my new video games and watch my new TV. I don't want to be working today, so
we're all in that happy post-Christmas spirit. And
exactly.
if you like us are working today and stuck on a little commute, or whether you're enjoying this with a happy beverage next to your new tech gifts, yeah, we'll keep it interesting for you. And here to help us keep it interesting is iMore writer Chella. Chella, I actually don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Oh, really? It's Lau Russo.
Lau Russo. Okay.
Yeah.
Chella Lau Russo.
That's what I thought too.
I actually had to say it out loud, and I didn't want to try it before and just completely make a mango.
No, you did. You know what? You did good. And as long as the Cella's not a Cella, I'm a-okay with everything.
Ooh, yes, Chella, Cella, but with a ch sound. Chella is a writer at iMore, and she's also here to talk with us about special photos tips. She does a lot of our photography coverage at iMore, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But how you doing, Chella?
I'm good. I'm cozied up. I'm like currently hibernating still after the holidays because like I've eaten so many cookies. I don't want to like put on anything that isn't a giant sweater. And everything's fantastic. So yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I saw there was a little tiny cat at some point.
Yeah, she is now run away because that's her thing. But yeah, little cat, new rescue kitty that my friend found on the side of the road, and she's now my best pal, my little writing friend. Her name's Monella, and yeah, she's cute. She's a cute little thing. There you are. Hey.
We can vouch for that. We've got to see her.
She'll come back eventually when she's done exploring.
We might have a cat cameo in this iMore show. But really fun. So so let's dive right in before we get too goofy today. We're going to start off with some actual news, which is to say just the ongoing saga that is quote unquote iPhone slow. This is a tough subject, as we've talked about on previous podcasts, because we definitely see both sides of this, where on the one hand, Apple is has been trying very hard to make devices last for people, but on the other, they are not doing a great job at messaging. And the lack of messaging, I think, is what everybody is kind of unified as the big problem here. If Apple is going to slow down your iPhone to get more battery life, that's okay, but they should let you know that is happening, which they did not.
Yeah, so I was thinking when they announced iOS 11, they should have just right there. And what we're working on is a great way for older iPhones to get better battery life in the future. Like if they just presented it like that, everyone with an older iPhone would be like, that's great. My battery's going to last a lot longer. But because there was no communication, I mean, if I was on an iPhone 6 and I went and bought a brand new iPhone because I just thought that my phone was just, old and dead and wasn't working very well, and then I found out I could have just replaced the battery, I would have been really upset about it. So,
absolutely.
Yep.
Exactly. It's hopefully it's something that Apple will learn from, because clearly people are not happy, both on the internet, but also we've got a number of lawsuits going on, filed in district courts in California, in New York, in Illinois, that are class action lawsuits. Also one in Israel, apparently.
What?
Yeah, in an Israeli court, lodged on Monday, according to Reuters. And yeah, it's not fantastic. of course, they are asking for a lot of money, which is kind of
Well,
crazy.
and actually, the problem with class action lawsuits is like a big chunk of money is being asked for, but then individually, each person isn't really going to get a whole lot of money out of it. Usually, it amounts to just a few $100s per person. So
Yeah.
it's not quite
Ultimately,
as.
it's not quite where what you would ideally see when you're like, I'm going to sue the pants off this company. Yeah, I mean, it is important to note that the class action lawsuit in California, at least, is being represented by Jeff Fazio, who previously represented a class action lawsuit that got a $53 million settlement from Apple in 2013 about iPhone warranty claims. So they do have some top notch people on this. However, I don't think this is the issue. Like, I do think that, again, as you said, Lori, if people bought a new iPhone and then they did so because they thought their iPhone was slowing down, then yes, Apple has some just compensation to make, because that's
There's also there's a lot of little things along the way that could have been done. I am sure that some people were calling Apple support saying my phone is running slow, and if there was a little more communication, a little more transparency, those Apple techs could have said to them, "Oh, it's because of the new operating system," and then made some suggestions to them to like things they could do to help speed it up. And none of this came out. This is all after the fact, after that benchmark was made known, pre new battery, post new battery. There's so many missteps here that at this point it almost seems that Apple needs to make a second big,
a real mea culpa, not just a press statement, but actually a like, we're sorry to our customers. We kind of
and even offering a you could new batteries to older phones. You can return your purchase if you made it between X and X. Like at this point, it's pretty yucky. And for us, I think Michael brought this up at the last podcast. For us in the sort of tech writing world, it's so hard when I am always having friends and family say Apple's purposefully slowing down my phone, so I'll buy a new one. I just know it because it doesn't work anymore, and I'm always rolling my eyes at the ridiculousness of it. And now, in this particular case, that's true, and it's so hard to come back from that when you're championing Apple. And my friends like to make fun of me for my love of Apple, and now they're making fun of me even more for this. And I can't even be an Apple apologist in one way, because I really do felt like this is dealt with just very poorly on Apple's part.
Absolutely. Well, it's frustrating to me because I do see the side of, this was a software update rolled out in iOS 10.3. It happened a while ago. And it's only until now that we're kind of figuring this out and discovering it. I don't know. I understand Apple's position of like, guys, it's always been there. Like, it's been there for a while. Why are you getting so mad now? But now it's gone beyond a simple PR mismessaging. Like they do. I think I agree with you. They do need to make a second statement.
Yeah. Chella, do you have that experience with like friends and family talking about slowdown?
Like constantly, and just like you, I do get made fun of because I'm always like, you guys are crazy. Like this is, I really don't know what you're talking about. And it's funny because I am embarrassed almost, kind of, to be like, wow, I've been like not like I'm taking it personally, I'm almost like, wow, like, okay, I stood up for you, and then you like turn around and do this like rude. But I think the big thing that comes down to is like you guys were saying, it's PR, right? If they were to come forward and just be really, really, and they have been so smart with public relations in the past, right? So I just don't understand where this kind of miscommunication came from, especially because of especially because of it was a great opportunity to step in and say, no, look, this is a great feature, and kind of unveil it in some shiny new paint rather than push it into a corner. And by pushing it into a corner, now it's this big secret, and it didn't need to be a big secret. And so I totally agree with what you guys are saying. I'm a little embarrassed, honestly, but like, and I have also thought, oh, maybe it is a little bit slower, but I'm like, maybe it's me, maybe I've downloaded too many things, maybe it's the amount of photos I've taken, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So yeah, I totally agree with you guys, 100%.
Yeah, so hopefully Apple will do something after the holiday. I don't think we're gonna really see something in the next couple days because everybody's on vacation. It's really an unfortunate time for all of this to break, really. But hopefully we'll see something in the new year where Apple kind of claps their hands and is kind of like, sorry guys. If at the very least, even if they don't do a public apology, I hope that we'll see an iOS update that actually gives proper messaging, because I don't think they should roll these features back. I think they're useful features, and again, clock speed, management is something that computers have been doing from the dawn of time. Like your Mac does it, your PC does it, probably Android phones do it too. And it's just a matter of, again, proper messaging and proper explanations.
Yeah.
Regardless, Apple needs to do something to fix this.
Yeah. I would like to see an update that includes the ability to turn it on or off. I think in a lot of circumstances, people would be happy to save their battery life, but there are some times I think when people would like to change that and to have the option. Today, I'm near a charger all day long, so I'd like my phone to work faster instead of my battery life lasting a little longer. I think that might be.
It's the overclocking phenomenon, right? It's that's been around with people from the dawn of time, where it's like, yeah, I want my processor to beef up a little bit because I'm playing a really high frame rate game. And yeah, I know that there's a reason. One of the main reasons why this evolved in the first place was that older phones were spontaneously turning off and rebooting because of battery issues. And so Apple actually originally rolled this out to prevent that, to basically underclock the processor so it didn't essentially, explode. Not physically explode. That's a different problem with a different subset of phones, but not Apple phones.
Not Apple phones.
No, but yeah. So I know there's probably an issue there with, again, not being plugged in, and if you have an older phone, you don't want, like, your phone spontaneously rebooting. I think is worse than it just running a little bit slower. But I do agree with you. There's nothing that says that Apple can't take its own unique spin on this and just say, like your Mac, we will dynamically boost the processor when you're plugged in, and then we'll drop it down so that it's safe when you're not plugged in.
I mean, doesn't that sound cool?
Yeah, well, again, there's probably a certain amount of this that already happens by default. Like, it's already there, probably, but we just don't know about it. And that's the major issue, is that Apple's doing all this cool stuff with chip processing. And unfortunately, one of the downsides to that is if someone finds something that's like, oh, Apple's slowing down my phone, they don't see they're slowing down my phone to help my battery. They just see Apple is slowing down my phone. This is not okay. So yeah, Apple needs to improve its messaging because its technology is very cool. But unless they sell it to the consumers properly, the end users are going to be very unhappy. So now that we've kind of gotten that out of the way, our one news story of the week, everybody else is kind of on vacation, so there's not a whole lot of tech news, bumbling around this week. So I figured we'd talk about some tech that's happening in our local lives. To start, I want to kind of plug our 12 days of tech tips at iMore. This year we decided that to give stuff to you, our readers, iMore. Instead, in lieu of, we could have all given you, I don't know, a $5 gift card or something like that. That might have been cool, but there's a lot of you. So instead, we piled all of our knowledge together and we created the 12 Days of Tech Tips series, which every day, starting on December 25th for the next 12 days, following the 12 days of Christmas, we are giving you a little bit of a whole homegrown story of our own kind of tech foibles and missteps, along with tips that can help you avoid those. So for the first day of tech tips, I wrote a story on why backing up your stuff can be the best gift that you can give to anybody, whether that's yourself or whether that's your friends or your family. For the second day of tech tips, Lori Gill wrote an excellent primer on setting up an Apple ID and why that's really, really important, why you want to make sure that your relatives actually have an Apple ID and they're not like sharing it between three people. And for the third day of tech tips, Renee Ritchie talked about digitizing your movie collection and your DVD collection and all of your audio and everything else so that you can clean up your home a little bit after in the aftermath of all the wrapping paper and everything else. We've got a ton of more great tech tips coming. So I really encourage you to keep an eye on the site. We're probably going to put it into a little ebook at the end. But in the meantime, it's a fun little daily snapshot into the tech tips universe.
Yeah, I had my own experience. In fact, this year there wasn't a lot of technology given and received in my family, but we did have one of the family members got a PlayStation 4 and was trying to set it up, and there was some little things going wrong. And sure enough, I said, "Have you tried turning it off and on again?" And guess what? That works. So these tech tips are going to be really invaluable to some people. Some of them are going to be for yourself and your own, tech life, but some of them are exactly how you help a family member who doesn't know anything about technology, and you're just kind of, steering them in the right direction of, something as simple as setting up an Apple ID. You'd be surprised at how many people don't know what an Apple ID is or how to use it, or they're trying to use someone else's, or they used to use someone else's and now they're using their own, and they don't know how come they don't have any of their content anymore. So these are all like varying levels of helping your family members and helping yourself.
Yeah, and we really think, as I said, they're invaluable to kind of have around, and hopefully, again, since we're all hopefully around friends and family for the holidays, it's a nice way to help out people without necessarily having to buy them things, which I always appreciate. I feel like the best gift you can give somebody is a little bit of your time to help them with a problem. As irritating as it is, I mean, my parents are fairly tech savvy, and I still get phone calls almost every day being like, "This isn't working. Why isn't this working?" And it does irritate me most of the year. And then I have to remember, they're my parents, and it's a nice thing to be able to give your knowledge to somebody else to, help teach a man to fish, basically, to use that old adage.
I love helping my mom with her tech problems because it always gives me something to write about later. So
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Instant story ideas. If you're a tech journalist, it's an extra bonus. But yeah,
exactly.
Hopefully it also gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling inside your heart for helping your friends and family. So
yeah, that too.
Yeah,
totally.
that part. Maybe also,
yeah, solving
by sugar.
Well, hopefully I get sugar cookies as my payment, so solving people's tech problems feels like solving a math problem, like a difficult math problem. Sometimes it's really hard and you're racking your brain, and you get to that point where you're almost angry because you can't figure out why this one thing isn't working, and then you've solved that, and it's so like liberating and feels so good to like, I did this thing that I didn't think was possible to do, right before you think, well, you're just gonna have to call Apple and have them fix it, and then you fix it. It's the best feeling. It's great.
I did something that they didn't need Apple support for.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys enjoy that series, and do let us know if you have thoughts or comments. We might do something similar next year, so we're always on the lookout. Next, speaking of holiday things, let's talk about what we got for our respective holidays. Celebrate Christmas. Laura, you celebrate Christmas. Chella, do you celebrate Christmas?
I do, yeah.
All right, let's talk about Christmas gifts. Done and done. Lori, why don't you go first? Because I hear you got something big.
I got a lot of Star Wars toys for Christmas, which is really, my family knows me, and it even got to the point where somebody had made a joke of like, we got you a Star Wars presents. That's so lame, and I was like, no, it's not. Keep them coming. But the one big tech gift that we got this year was a 4K television. We got a brand new 4K television set. And I currently do not own Apple TV 4K because I have mentioned this before. My my older TV was a 720p resolution television. That's how old it was. So
a little bit out of date.
A little bit.
I can tell you if anybody is wondering what it's like to upgrade from something that resolution wise that old, I I actually didn't like it at first. I had to adjust the display settings because it's too clear for my eyes. I look at this TV and I think it looks weird. There's something wrong with the television.
It's
So I
too
had to,
nice. Too nice.
yeah, I had to adjust the display settings so that it sort of flattens everything out and it makes it look more familiar to me. Over time, I'm sure I will.
You're like,
you
no
know,
HDR. HDR is too much. Too
Too
many
much.
films.
Too
Yeah.
much too soon.
Yeah, I
yeah.
do have to ask you a question. Have you turned off motion smoothing?
I don't even know what motion smoothing is.
Oh,
What is
God.
that?
Well, that's a tech tip that we did not write about, but we should. So
Yes.
smoothing is the awful, in my opinion, awful feature that televisions turn on so that gaming looks smoother, and more specifically, high frame rate shots of sports look very fast. Unfortunately, it has the unintended consequence of making all of your movies and television shows look like soap operas. So
That's the thing I need to fix. That's it.
yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yep, that's
what that is?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Because for years, I just, wow. Wow.
Chilling.
You actually, like, I just saw universes inside of universes inside of you. Oh my gosh. I can't believe, I had no idea that's what that was. I always just assumed, I would tell my friends, I'm like, watching this movie, it just kind of looks like a reality show or something. Like, I don't really get it. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Turn that off. We really should write a guide on that.
I
We don't
use.
really cover TVs.
I'll
but
do that today.
Yes.
turn
Can I
off
make-
motion smoothing
I'll make
on
a
your
gif
television.
of myself going like this, like, and then like my brain exploding.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
so that's actually Ryan Johnson, who directed The Last Jedi, made a joke about that on Twitter the other day, and I always see people make jokes about it who are in the film community, because it really is. It's kind of it's an encroaching threat on televisions, because a lot of TVs come shipping with that enabled, because they figure, oh well, people are going to watch a lot of sports, people are going to watch a lot of video games, and they're not really going to mind it. Some newer TVs, I will say, have automatic smoothing switch, so they can actually like the
Flip back and
promotion
forth.
display on the iPad Pro, they can automatically adjust. But most televisions don't do this very well, unfortunately. So if you've ever run into a TV, if you've ever physically run into a TV, if you've ever run into a situation where you're watching TV and for some reason it looks kind of like a soap opera, look for motion smoothing controls.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that advice, because that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that it looks really weird to me, and I had to try to figure out some setting adjustments on my television set. I still haven't found that particular setting, but I did just get it. But it has this option too. There's like preset display options. So there's one called movie setting, I think, and that's the one that I use all the time, because it kind of flattens everything out so that it doesn't have that weird soap opera look to it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that some televisions, instead of actually having a motion smoothing checkbox, they have movie mode and sport mode and game mode, which all kind of set the smoothing and the frame rate level at different areas. Movie mode generally brings that back down to showing 24 frames a second, and 24 frames a second, how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, that's
29.97, but you know.
And then you can go watch Star Wars on your 4K TV. I did actually, when I first set it up, I was watching Force Awakens to try to get the settings right, and it was like Rey's face is all just standing out in front of everything. Like, this is outdoors. Why does it look like this?
Yep.
But it does look really good in 4K, so that's pretty nice.
It's a nice movie. I'm really looking forward to watching both of those back to back.
Oh man, yes.
So fun. So fun.
Chola, what did you get for Christmas?
I didn't get anything techie and cool. I've actually been waiting for Boxing Week sales so I can go on some of my favorite sites and maybe find some cool photography stuff. What I do normally get myself is I have a Fujifilm camera, so I always get film. So that's like something that I just, like an Instax, the little mini guy. And yeah, I'm film obsessed, so that's kind of what I was really, really happy to get this year. And yeah, besides that, nothing crazy techy. My mom had been talking about getting a 4K TV, so I'm gonna let her know about your experience. And I'm not even gonna lie, this motion smoothing thing, like like this has been the epiphany of the year. Like I'm so, because it's been Serenity, like it has been years and years and years and years watching on these TVs, and I've been like, I don't get it. Like I don't understand. Maybe this is just how it is. And like we're gonna hang up this call and I'm gonna run downstairs and I'm gonna start messing with settings and my whole family's gonna hate me and I have to do it. I have to. But yeah, besides that, it was just a lovely Christmas and yeah,
Oh, that sounds lovely.
yeah.
Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about the Instax camera because I'm actually really curious. I almost bought one for Christmas, in part because I was like, oh, for sending thank you cards for the wedding, I was just going to take little Polaroids of all the gifts we got in action. And I was like, oh, I could do that with a little Instax camera. But
Yeah,
I didn't make the plunge. I didn't take the plunge this time, but I want to hear from you, like, what's cool about it? Why is it a worthwhile purchase?
I really like it just because it works super well. I've never had issues with it. I've thrown it in my bag. I've kind of like I'm not rough with my equipment, I'll say, but I'm not the gentlest with my equipment. So it's kind of withstood like quite a bit of wear and tear. And then I just really like it because the quality of the prints are beautiful. Like there's a lot of rich color. The contrast is really nice. It's not washed out. I find that with some like what's it called, like film cameras specifically, you do have to be careful with brightness because if you take a picture of someone's face, you know, you look super washed out. This, I find that almost any environment, as long as you're not like, you know, in a deep dark dungeon, like it's quite easy to just be you know, not super familiar with the camera or someone who's like more of a professional photographer, be able to whip it out and take pictures. And then the other thing I really, really love about it is the frames. And the frames specifically is you can get like plain white frames, super cute, whatever. They look the most, I guess, Polaroidy. But if you wanted, you could also get frames with like little hearts or frames that are rainbows or frames that have like cute little designs on them or frames with like little kittens and like stained glass window looks. Or if you wanted to do something for your wedding, I'm sure they had ones with like little hearts or something cute, you know? So like there's just so many options to do fun things with it, and I just think it's a handy tool. It's not crazy expensive. I got mine as a gift, but I think you can get them even at like Urban Outfitters or something for like $80. And then I get all my film online, just because it's a little bit less expensive than going to, you know, Urban Outfitters or Staples, whatever. And yeah, I just love it. And it's also, it's a great little party thing. Like you pull it out and everyone's like, mine's neon yellow. So, you know, you pull it out and everyone's like, oh my gosh, what is that? Is that a Polaroid? And it's like, it's a really almost like an easy gift. Even if you just like snap a picture at a party and give it to someone, they'll be super happy, you know? And every time I have mine, people are always like, oh my God, can I have that one? Like, can I have it? And it's like the little pictures I take. So I don't know. It's just it's a tool. It's a great little tool to have. I'd say so. Go for it.
Yay! All right, I'll
And they do like the pictures are they 2 by 3 or are they even smaller than that?
I think they're 2 by 3. They're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
a little
about
bit
like that.
small Polaroid, but honestly, that's okay. I don't know. I feel like in this day and age, we don't take a lot of film photos. In fact, I had a fun,
Mhm.
I had a fun adventure where we had a bunch of disposable cameras at our wedding just for fun, and I went to develop all of those, only to find that there is not a single photo lab in my state that will develop
Oh
on
my God.
site.
Are you
So I
serious?
yeah, so I had to send them out, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll get them back in like 3 weeks from somewhere in Iowa.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's so unfortunate.
it was kind of shocking to my core, honestly, because I grew up with disposable film cameras. Like I was not, you could not find me without at least one, possibly two in my bag, because I was just taking photos constantly. And now, we have this lovely digital camera in our pocket, and I definitely, I use my phone all the time to take photos. But it does strike me, what we miss a little bit. I kind of loved the experience of, you take something and you really don't know how it's going to come out. You just kind of, you frame it and you hope for the best, and sometimes you get magic. And
I
that's
Hmm.
like and like the print cameras. I think I've talked about them a few times on iMore, and I think that that's kind of like the perfect marriage of a digital device being able to incorporate with like a film kind of aspect. And I think print has done an excellent job being able to like kind of bring this like digital flair to like film photography. I don't know if you've played with it at all, Lori, but like they're super fun, super fun.
Yeah, I haven't got one yet, but I love them. They're just so neat looking. I'm gonna be ordering one for the iPhone 10 because they're the one they have for the iPhone 10. The case is not out yet, but they said they're making one. But they have it's like a dock
Yeah,
is the
the
one they
print
have
or
now.
the pocket
The
printers.
pocket one, yes, yeah, that's the one they have right now. So, but do you have the one that's actually a case?
Yeah, so I have the one that's the case, I guess the
Yeah.
original, and then I have the pocket print too. Um,
Uh-huh.
I prefer the pocket print just because, and also the design is it's a little bit like nicer looking, and I find the case to just be a little bit like clunky, obviously, because it's just like a big like printer on the back. And but from the first version to I guess the pocket print, it's like the quality is pretty consistent, and they've done just an excellent job. Like it's so cool. You print it out. It's also a sticker, which I think is neat, so you can stick them wherever.
Oh,
And
that's
then
great.
you take your phone, and when you record over top of it, it's a moving image, like it's a video. It's almost like a boomerang. And like with the pocket print, you can pick if it's like a video or a boomerang, so it almost can like gif and it's super cool, super super cool.
Well, I
I'm
know
re-
what I'll be buying myself for Christmas.
Do it.
I know, I'm reading it right now. That's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I might just go for the pocket print instead of waiting for the case for the iPhone 10. I know that it is kind of a big, bulky case. It's not something you want on your phone all the time, but I like the idea that it's just kind of on your phone and you could pull your phone out and take pictures with it. So the case
It's
is also cool.
And the paper is so inexpensive. That's the other thing I really like in comparison to even the Instax, like the paper is very inexpensive. And the other cool thing is I guess there's no ink required. So like all the ink is in the paper, right? So it's just you put it
Oh,
in, it prints, it's done. Don't have to change cartridges. It's just like there, ready to go. And if I had to pick one or the other, I would do the print. Also because you can preview the photos before you print them out and edit them too. So you can add like effects or like little messages and stuff like that. So I think that's neat.
this is
That
very
is
cool.
really cool.
Oh
Mhm.
God, more things, more experimental fun tech to learn.
Yeah.
Too much fun. Yeah. So our big present here in the Caldwell Goddett household was a PlayStation VR headset, which I
So
Woo!
was
cool.
not expecting. Rick had been asking kind of like about VR, and I'm like, we shouldn't get one yet. It's not ready. Like, don't get me wrong. I respect Russell Holly and VR heads a lot, and I have tried all of the VR headsets at this point, and I love them. I think they're great. But my big sticking point was always, I'm not really sold on VR when it's corded, and I'm kind of waiting for the day that we can get a VR headset that either connects to your phone, not like by putting your phone in there, but like actually is powered. If you want to cord it, and it runs off that processor, or one that's just not corded at all. Because right now, the headsets are fairly bulky. But I will say, Rick surprised me on Christmas morning with a VR headset, with a PlayStation VR. And I was like, okay. Like, I was not excited. Like, oh, cool. Cool. That's a VR headset. All
Neat.
right.
Neat.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I
Um,
I feel so bad for Rick.
I know I felt really bad too. And he was like, "You can return it if you want," and I'm like, "No, you know what? No, it has super hot on it. So, you know what? I've really enjoyed playing in VR. Is super hot so far. So we'll keep it just for that. That'll be fun, and it's good exercise. And our basement right now, our basement exercise room is filled with just leftover junk and boxes, so we can't use that. So I'm like, well, we can't use the exercise room, so the VR will be a good substitute.
That's
Uh,
good.
yeah, so I was not super jazzed about getting a VR headset at first. And then I got to watch Ricky playing Super Hot, which was then my all-time favorite thing. Like, that's my new favorite activity, because my husband, who is former military, just got super into it. He was like, "All right, closest threat, biggest threat, gonna find it." He was having a blast.
That's
Uh,
great.
and I actually really enjoy Super Hot, but I think the thing that sold it for me And the thing that made me forget about the wires and the heavy headset and having to hold things and all that nonsense was the Battlefront VR game, where they put you in an X-wing cockpit and you can look around and there's an R2 unit behind you and you can talk to the R2 unit and you can fire. It was beautiful.
That's the only thing that I would want the PlayStation VR for is the Star Wars VR game because it does.
That is
Oh,
so
actually,
cool.
that's not true. I also want a VR headset so that I can play the bridge, the Star Trek bridge.
Yeah,
That one
Bridge
looks
Crew.
really good too. Yeah,
I haven't played it yet. That's next on my to try list.
yeah.
Yeah, and Spark is really fun too. Spark is kind of it's kind of like handball, or like tennis, but you're playing it with Tron style like wrist guards and a glowy ball, and I don't know, I really enjoy it. It feels very silly, but I really enjoy it.
That's great.
Uh, yeah, so VR, I was really skeptical about owning one or spending money to buy one, and then I got to shoot some TIE fighters, and I felt, you really feel like you're in the middle of space, which is
Oh,
something
it's
that I
so
did not
great.
think possible. Yeah, Laura, you would love it.
I
Also,
know.
yeah. Also, they have experiences, which I have not tried yet, but am really curious about, which are really more like 360-degree movies.
Cool.
Um, but one of the things that you can do as well is play the 360-degree videos that YouTube offers. And I know for a fact that YouTube has a 360-degree version of Star Tours. Yeah, yeah. So they have a 360-degree version of a lot of theme park rides. So
Why are you even here right
I
now?
Bye.
okay,
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been so for me the one well, I'm kind of like you. To me, VR isn't quite there yet. I feel that way. It's still missing something that to make it really consumer friendly. But I get nauseous when I use the few times I've used VR headsets. I'm one of those people that gets nauseous from it. So that's kind of been my biggest reason to not spend the money because I don't want to get sick after 10 minutes of playing a game. Games especially because I play video games for hours and hours and hours. And so if I'm sick after 10 minutes, then it kind of doesn't feel worth it. So,
No, that's not so much fun. What VR headsets have you been using so far?
well, I've tried the PlayStation VR. I have a friend who had one. I tried. Does Samsung make the VR? Is that the other one that was a big one for a while?
HTC makes the Vive,
Oh, that
and
was it. It was the
Samsung
HTC Vive.
does Samsung does make the Gear VR.
Okay, no, it was the HTC Vive was the one that I've tried, and then also just using the ones where you just kind of slide your phone in and
The
use
Google
those.
Cardboard style
Yeah,
ones.
not legit VR, but even those I get nauseous from using. So
Mm.
um, I've heard that they've gotten better with their technology, their motion technologies, specifically for people who get motion sick. So it might be better. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just the technology evolving right now. It's going to be really tricky.
Yeah, yeah. I do think though, if there's any reason to go VR, it's for gaming because that seems like the most comfortable. Because I don't think we're going to get a lot of people who put a big clunky headset on and just sit there and watch a movie for 2 hours. It just doesn't seem like a comfortable way to watch a movie. But video games, I do think that's the one good place that VR is headed. They seem to be doing it right in that sphere so far.
Yeah, and you get a surprising amount of exercise from VR, especially super hot. Rick played it for I don't know 3 hours on Christmas Day, and the next day he goes to work, and I get a text message about 9 a.m. and he's like, "My legs are so sore that I can't." He's a person in fairly good shape, but yeah. So if you're like, I need something to do this winter that does not involve jogging outside in snowy tundras.
Oh
Might be
well,
a good plan.
I just need something to do that's not jogging. Period. So
Yeah, exactly. Let's avoid jogging and shoot invisible bad guys. Chella, have
yeah,
you
that's
tried VR before? Oh, we lost your audio, I think.
She's not muted either, so.
No. No.
In the meantime, um, yeah. So, what is Super Hot? Is that
So Super Hot is actually a game that was introduced to me by Georgia and Renee of iMore, where it's a so I guess there is a console game called Super Hot, which is a little bit different from Super Hot VR. They made an entirely new experience, kind of in the same world, but essentially you are playing like a cubist version of yourself that can grab guns and knives and throwing stars and bottles and all sorts of things, and you're facing off against these again like polygonic red faceless men, all with again guns, knives, throwing stars, etc. Axes, hacksaws, in these very pristine white environments. And by default, it would be like, oh, this is just a first person shooter. But what makes it really cool is that unless you physically move, time stands still. So as if you're like this and you're just looking around like this, no one will move. And then the second that you move to grab something, they will move and they will fire. So it
oh
gives
my
this
gosh.
really, yeah, it's a really, really cool way of kind of doing bullet time as well. Because if you can kind of move your hands just a little bit to get them to fire a gun, and then you just watch the bullet go slowly, 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 slowly towards you, and then right as it comes next to you, you're like, and it
Oh
just goes,
wow.
yeah,
Oh my
it's
gosh. That sounds so fun.
it is really, really fun. And then that's overlaid with some, post-apocalyptic creepy stuff about being one with the machine. But otherwise it's a blast. It is one of like I consider it the game to introduce people to VR to, because it requires a lot of movement, but not forward backward. You're just constantly, you're going up, you're going down, you're using the environment basically around your immediate surroundings. So like there might be a ledge or something, and you can physically duck down behind the ledge and then like move your gun outside, or like peek out and peek back in.
Wow.
But you don't actually have to step forward because all of the people come to you. It's yeah, I
That sounds so amazing. I love the idea of when you stop, everything stops. Like that, it's so like what are those angels from
the
from
Screaming Angels, yeah, from
yes.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's kind of what it makes me think of is like you turn away and suddenly they're there, but when you look, they've stopped. Like it almost
Yes.
seems like that kind of environment of just like you just kind of don't move and then everything else freezes. I love that idea. It seems really creepy and cool.
It is. It is both creepy and cool. And it is honestly, it makes. I don't like first person shooters. I'm not a person. I just don't enjoy that genre. And what I appreciate about Superhot is because you control time, you can have all the time in the world to deal with, okay, there are people coming at me from three sides. I can think it becomes more like a puzzle and less like a, oh god, I have to move everywhere and shoot everything and pressing buttons and mash, mash, mash. And yeah, that's not what I enjoy about gaming, but puzzles I enjoy.
Yes. Yeah, puzzles are great. Do we have Cello back?
Can you hear me?
Yay!
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yay! Okay, I switched computers, so that right on.
Your poor computer. All right, well,
It's okay.
It's good. You came back just in time for our last topic of the day, which is the topic of holiday photos, which is partially why we wanted to have you on, is to talk about let's talk about taking photos during taking photos in winter and taking photos during the holidays and taking photos of New Year's celebrations. What should people
Yeah.
know? What's good tips, fun things?
Yeah, you know what? I, as you know, I'm obsessed with taking pictures of everything and anything. So I have been experimenting quite a bit this holiday season. My big thing that I like to talk about is lighting specifically, because I think around this time of year, it gets darker a lot faster, and a lot of people are worried about daylight and taking pictures, and a lot of these festivities that are going on at night, they go on at night. So a lot of people are kind of worried about like what to do in terms of lighting. I think getting creative with lighting is really important. Specifically around New Year's, a lot of people are doing stuff with sparklers or just doing stuff with fireworks, or if anyone does have like a sparkler, and you can adjust camera settings or even pull out like Helene or I pronounce it Helene. I don't know if you pronounce or if that's the right way way you pronounce the app's name, and kind of just switch your aperture settings just so things are a little bit slower, and you can get some really cool like letter writing and whatnot in with your exposure, playing around with your exposure. Taking pictures by candlelight can also be really fun. It's kind of challenging, but if you have like an iPhone, I shoot with the iPhone 7 Plus right now. It takes really, really beautiful pictures, especially by candlelight, and darker settings, so you can always play around with that as well. And the other thing is I like to try and shoot through different things around this time of year. So shooting through like a frosted window, or shooting through a colored piece of glass, or if you have like an ornament or something that has maybe like a cool design or something that you typically wouldn't shoot through. Maybe it'll give you like a weird kind of like fly eye design and kind of make things a little bit distorted and funky. It made me laugh the other day, and I don't think there's anything wrong with taking pictures like this, but like it made me laugh. I'm going down my timeline on Instagram, and it's these couple pictures that are very, very similar in every aspect. It's the girl with the hand on the stomach of the guy, with his arm is like kind of wrapped around her in front of a Christmas tree, and I laughed because I had 6 in a row, and it was like 1, 2, and then like the DJ Khaled voice in my head, it was like another one, another one, another one, another one, and I was just like,
Oh, no.
I not thinking like it's a bad thing, but I was just like, oh, it'd just be fun to do something a bit more like creative. And so like what I've been playing around with is something called a click fee puck. And it's from this company that I absolutely adore their selfie sticks. But the click fee puck is essentially like a stand for your phone. What you do is you put your phone in it, and it works very simply. You wind up the base, and after you put your iPhone in it, once you turn on panorama mode, it'll give you the perfect even panorama. So if you're looking to take like a selfie or a cool selfie of like you and your significant other, you could always set it up, run into spot, and then take this like really, really neat looking panorama. I've also been obsessed with using it for like a panning shot. If like someone's cooking something, it almost looks like it's like a Cooking Network like just this like really even, like kind of funky looking shot. And it's bizarre because it's so simple. You just wind this thing up, you put it down, you hit a button, and then it goes. There's like no electricity involved, and it's weirdly made things a lot easier this holiday season, and just a lot more interesting to shoot and play around with. It also just makes a great stand. But yeah, those are a few of mine. And like, what about you guys? Have you guys been taking any like super cool holiday photos so far? Or?
That I'm so bad at remembering to take pictures, which is strange because I used to be like Serenity. I used to be the person that walked around with a camera all the time. I always had a little point and shoot with me everywhere I went. And I've now been, I focus so much on like the now that I kind of forget to pull out my camera and take pictures of things. And it's fine because I'm living in the now, but there are some moments where I wish I would have remembered to take a picture. So I do lose out on that. But my new favorite thing to do right now is use slow-mo camera. Let me tell you something. Charlie, you might know this, but you might not. So we'll see.
Okay.
There's this thing in my town called the Global Winter Wonderland, where it's a bunch of big lit up things. So it's using a lot of Christmas lights strung all over the place. And what we discovered, we were just taking slow-mo pictures just for fun. The lights, when your eyes are looking at Christmas lights, they look like steady on. They look like they're steady, right? When you slow them down, they're actually blinking super, super fast. What? So you can do this. I'll share the video with you guys.
Please, yes.
When you do a slow-mo video and you, the person, are moving in slow-mo, everything behind you that's lit up with Christmas lights is flashing super, super fast. It's so cool.
Make a
sounds
music video
awesome.
with that.
Yes.
Go into Go land.
Yeah, so like find a house with a lot of Christmas lights on it. I've noticed, like my one strand of Christmas lights around my window, you can kind of tell that there's some blinking, but it's not really noticeable. You have to find something where there's a lot of Christmas lights kind of mashed up against something. So find something like that.
There's a park here that has all kind of what you're talking about, like a bunch of, oh my gosh. Hey, that is so cool, Lori.
Go there tonight and do a slow-mo video. You are going to have so much fun with it.
Thank you.
Tell us like my next project. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, honestly, the majority of the experiments that I've done with holiday related photos have been with my Hoth snow scene, where for the last couple of years I've been setting up Lego Star Wars characters and making a snow scene, but making it Hoth themed. So just having, a big walker fighting against, and this year I added little tiny X-wing microfighters and TIE fighter microfighters hanging from the ceiling. So I was just experimenting with tilt shift photography to try and get good angles, and I have a bunch of hue lights. So my big thing, we've got we've got the stationary hue blooms, and I really love playing with the different colors there to see how light can kind of reflect off. But I also have a hue go, so that's a lamp that will unplug and you can kind of carry it with you wherever you want. And I've been using that a lot in low light situations where I'll just have somebody hold it right underneath themselves to give themselves kind of a bottom spotlight, or have somebody. If I have three people, I'll be taking the photo and then I'll have someone off screen kind of holding it in a stage light persona, and using that in combination with the iPhone 8, iPhone 10's portrait lighting stuff. It's been kind of fun. I really enjoy it. This year has been kind of a chill Christmas. It's just been a couple of us. Rather, my family is kind of all off doing their own thing this year. So as a result, I haven't had too many people to take pictures of other than Rick and the dogs. So it means that I have been going a lot more experimental, which usually just means taking photos of Star Wars things.
So next year, you're gonna have to incorporate Crate into the scene somehow. Now I know it's not a snow planet, but it is all white, so you're gonna have to figure out a way.
Those little flares
Oh
of red,
man.
right?
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Oh man. Now I want to make like a globe diorama that just has like the scratch. It's like a Zen garden. Ah.
Oh, I
That'd
love
be
that.
cool. Someone needs to do that. A Crate Zen garden.
Oh, we'll just go down a rabbit hole of Star Wars. So I think this is probably a good place to end the show. Uh, Chella, thank you for being on. If people want to find you and all of your fantastic photo experiments online, where should they go?
You can find me at Hello Russo on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter. You can check out my just check out my social media. I'm always there, always posting.
Can you spell that real quick?
Absolutely. It is HELLO, hello, and then ROUSSEAU.
Perfect.
Sweet. And Lori Gill, people who are familiar with the show may know where to find you, but where can we find you just in case?
Just in case you haven't heard me say it 100 times, you can find me on Twitter at Apaholic. That's APPAHOLIK. And you can find me at Lori Gill at most of the other social things.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Saturn, SETTERN, as well as on iMore.com, where you can find all of us writing about our post holiday adventures, 12 days of tech tips, probably later today about motion smoothing, if I know Lori Gill. And pretty soon we'll have our Best of the Year awards. So keep an eye out for that. I'd like to thank both Mint Sim and Thrifter, our sponsors for today. And I'd like to thank you guys. We hope you have a lovely holiday, whatever holiday traditions you celebrate, and hope you're excited for the new year, 2018. It's just around the corner. And with that, we will bid you adieu.
Bye.
Bye.
2017 can suck it.